Hello and welcome to the Refinery Podcast. In this episode, I have a behind-the-scenes conversation with Ken Everson. Ken is the director of the Refinery Studio and the technician in the studio, and we talk about how and why we are doing the Refinery Podcast. Let's get into it. Awesome, Ken. I appreciate you. I'm glad that you're here. And obviously we're filming this because this may be something that we want to share or not want to share. And so just to kind of to explain sort of big picture, obviously the mission of everything that I'm doing is about helping entrepreneurs with big ideas create sustainable profitability.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, whatever I'm doing underneath that, I want that, it's going to fit within that sort of focus, that vital focus, right?
Right.
So, currently, among other things, one of the sort of themes of what's happening with me is, I'm trying to take action, like, do something new, and then help other people do it if it's helpful to advance their business, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So in some ways, when I'm doing that, I'm not really trying to be necessarily the subject matter expert in the thing. So an example of that is I'm aware that we're in the AI era, right?
Yeah.
We're not going back. It's a certain kind of a change that's happened that isn't the kind of change that just cycles back around,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we'll ride this AI storm out, we'll go back to the way things were. So I really kind of got involved in doing AI through some marketing stuff and teaching and leading this marketing class, putting this marketing thing together and then seeing the lights turn on for people when they see what it can do. And then it happened that then after that, I ended up being involved with other people in doing a similar process of just helping them get a start in using AI. So now, as it happens, like I'm involved with somebody else in creating an AI course for beginners. And that's going to be, I already know at least a couple of venues where that's going to be made available.
Yeah.
One of the things that we'll be doing moving forward is filming some clips about AI tips. Again, I'm not trying to be an AI expert.
Right.
What I do have expertise in, or what I do have some proficiency in, is helping people to get it, whatever it is. So in other words, when I start to get things, I naturally want to help other people get them. It's kind of a teaching thing, right?
Well, they say that the best teachers weren't the A students; they're like the B, C students, because they had to they had to fail a lot to understand how it works.
Yeah.
So they, and in that same process of like, oh, I got to work something out, and then I understand it better. You can be a better teacher.
Perfectly said. Yeah. And so a part of the theory behind this is, we hesitate a lot because we think we need to know exactly how to do everything.
Mm.
And then, right. And so let me say that I've learned that is absolutely the last thing that needs to happen if we want to move forward. Right.
Right.
We need to go. My mentor's, one of his things is jump off and build your wings on the way down. In fact, if you go to his house, there is a stone in front of his house that says he built his wings on the way down.
Oh man.
Right. So, so being around him helped me understand that, I'd probably hesitated on a lot of things because I felt like I needed to. And also, I don't want to be a mile wide and an inch deep on things. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the thing. What I'm realizing is, so what we're thinking here is, the whole purpose of all this is for the Refinery Podcast. We want to launch the Refinery Podcast. Now, we've done some podcast type recording in here in several different ways, but not really officially done the episodes. And what we're after here is we are nailing down the process.
Yeah,
Right.
we're in the refinery process itself. So
Yeah.
it's very meta.
It is meta.
It's the refinery as we're refining the process for the Refinery Podcast.
Yes. So that 5 times fast.
There's several levels to it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, essentially, this is the process.
Well, okay. So like, obviously, there's a lot of really well-known podcasters out there, and they've done by now, the best ones are into like the 2000s number of episodes. And they're fully produced, they're sharp, they're out everywhere in all different formats. But if you go back to the beginning, it's awful.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to start somewhere. I saw something that said the number one factor that makes a podcast successful is that you do at least 22 episodes.
Yeah.
So
which is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And especially because what's happening here, and I can see why it happens, that people start and stop. And, you know, you watch podcasts and you know, here's a good sort of, I think, kind of a life lesson thing, is that we were made to create. We're creative beings. We're made by a creator to create. And most of us haven't even come close to tapping into the potential of our creativity.
That's fair. Yep.
And a lot of the reason why we're not tapping into the potential of our creativity is because we're being so entertained by other people who have been creative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? So think about it like this. If you just take, what do you have a favorite animated series that you like to watch, or one that you have watched?
I mean, I like the classic Batman, you know, from the 90s.
Okay.
Batman, the animated series. That's great. Yep.
And there's a good example. Everyone knows The Simpsons, right? Whether you watched it. Okay. So now think about it. How long The Simpsons? What is that?
Oh man,
it's like 30 years.
Isn't it the longest running?
Yeah. So
animated.
We would watch it today and be mindlessly entertained by it, and not that there's not some value in being mindlessly entertained by it, without giving any consideration to what it has taken a lot of creative people week after week after week and year after year to put that out on a weekly basis and have it fully ready for airing wherever it goes to go out to the world.
Right.
And you think, I mean, it's easy for us to sort of think, oh, you know, every week, Saturday Night Live, they have to practice the skits and do all that, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they do. And it's been, you know, on for decades. But think about all the production that goes into an animated series.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is a lot of people spent countless hours every week pouring their creativity into entertainment, right?
Yeah.
Into something by which we're entertained. And, you know, what I'm interested in is like edutainment, valuetainment, right? And so
you're getting something out of it.
Yeah. Well, and then I think the point of it is I'm not really trying to make a moral conversation here about that necessarily, although, you know, I might sometime. I'm saying that if you get it, like let's say that right now I spend 2 hours a day watching some series or whatever, right?
Yep.
Fair enough. I mean, you know, that's pretty. And what I'm not doing right now, I'm doing a lot of things, but what I'm not doing is producing a podcast.
Right.
So we're right at the beginning. So what that means is, in order to be, if I want a legitimate podcast that matters to people, that adds value, that gives them sort of like valuetainment or edutainment, it edifies people, it's something that, you know, like the kind of stuff I would want to watch or you would want to watch.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And having people on there and all that and everything that it would take, a lot of habits have to change, right?
Yes.
So what we've done here, and I'm saying this because what you and I did was we said, look, at some point It's time to just go for it. And as we do, we're going to be building the process and refining the process for this. And we're going to get it ready so that what we'll be able to do is not only create the Refinery Podcast, but to be able to produce podcasts for other people.
Correct. Yep.
So we could easily have the capacity, in addition to the Refinery Podcast, to do about 4 other podcasts of that, but potentially more.
Yeah.
But at least from the onset, so again, going back, it's a process of let's go through and do something and then bring other people along.
Right.
That will be the right people. Because I already know the people who are going to be doing podcasting in here, like that's already known. I don't mind saying, in God's mind, that's already settled. Like whoever it is, they might not.
They're on the way.
They might not know it yet. But the thing of it is what's going to matter. In other words, it's a given. It's going to happen, right? I don't think we could have had the idea that it was possible if it wasn't possible.
Right.
That's just what I choose to believe, right?
Yeah.
So now,
I like to think when you first started this idea, in the same way that this studio wasn't here at all. This was just a blank space. This room didn't exist.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Actually recording in it.
Yeah.
And but you had to have the vision first.
Yes.
Understand, say, okay, we have to work this whole process out.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's not just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're not, we just said, let's just record this stuff. It's kind of behind the scenes stuff. We don't know how much of it we'll share, but let's just start hammering out. So you and I actually have met more than once on this, but we really met on the 17th of.
Do you remember?
Well, I write the date down.
Oh, good.
The 17th of November.
I have a bad memory.
Yeah. Well, I have to. So we just talked about what we were trying to think into really when we met was how do we get ourselves ready and how do we get other people ready, right? And so what we want to do with people is what you and I are doing, take some time to coach through, line it all out, map it all out. We want to have sort of done for you processes that are ready. They're like templates.
Right.
Some of which we've already built, some of which we need to keep building.
Yeah.
But basically what we're looking for is, potentially here's kind of what we said is people can make different commitments to this. And we were thinking about really, how can this studio be used to advance people's businesses? And, and so, what I'm doing is I'm using, my intention here is to use podcasting as the main content for the rhythm of marketing for my company, which, for the refinery itself, for Rick Burris Coaching, and meaning that I'm trying to simplify it in a way in terms of the main thing that I'm involved in with producing content that goes out on social media. And, what I'm trying to do for myself and what I'm trying to help other people do is get in a rhythm of whatever you put on social media. Yeah. Do it very strategically. Know exactly why and what, why you're doing what you're doing. What is the value? What do people really want, need? What is the problem that you're helping solve? Who exactly is your target audience or plural audiences, right?
Yeah.
And what are you actually offering? And then basically putting content out there that positions you as a subject matter expert speaking to a target audience and getting more consistent with that. Because what we're mostly doing is random.
Yeah.
We've
sporadic. That's me all the time on Facebook.
And we started doing social media just for social reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Posting what I had for lunch or whatever.
Right.
Do, right. Sharing a cat video, whatever it is. So what I'm saying is, look, if we're going to be all in on an entrepreneurial dream, it's going to take all of us. And that is going to include how we are branding ourselves or our company through the social media that happens.
Yes. Yep.
And so it takes getting in the rhythm and in the right rhythm. Not just putting a bunch of stuff out there, but putting things out that speak to. So for me, that's going to happen mostly through podcasting. In other words, the content that people will see will mostly be pieces of podcasts or whole podcasts. Right?
Yeah. Segments, clips, things that you discover as you're going through the process.
Yeah. So then we thought, okay, we want to be able to do this and for other people as well who understand the value of that, who get how powerful that can be. And really, just like any other entrepreneur, I'm thinking about my own marketing budget and and all of that. And where do I want to put that? Where do I want to allocate that? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realize is, look, I want to get the best return on the investment that I'm making. Right?
Yeah.
So what we want to do is help people understand those kinds of things. Why would they even be doing podcasting? What are they really trying to get out of it? What is the style of what they're doing?
Right. Yep.
And then what we talked about was, we'd have the ability to do kind of different packages.
Based on everybody's needs. Because some people, maybe you don't have an hour of content or an hour-long conversation. Maybe you really want to hone in on specific tips or values or something that you're offering as a business or in your journey or whatever. Your story to tell. What is it that the message that you're sending out to them that you want people to really hold on to? Sometimes it takes a while to kind of build it up, to explain, to bring people in. And that's why podcasting is so cool.
Absolutely.
Because, you can take a long time to say something and still keep people's interest, because if you have your audience and you know what they want, what they need, and you're filling them in with the information that they need to get to the next level, then, that's where podcasting shines, because you don't have to sit there in a classroom for hours and hours.
Yeah.
Podcasting is my car go-to, right?
Yeah.
I'm in the car. I'm hitting back where I resumed on, my podcast or whatever. I'm washing dishes, right?
Yep.
I do less of those than I should, but when I do, I put those in and the dishes get done really fast because, hey, I was on there 30 minutes,
Yeah.
That's the beauty of podcasting, is the platform and just the reach of it really can go to anyone. I was looking up some statistics here of like people in America that listen to podcasts.
Yeah, lay them on me, man.
And like the majority of Americans own a smartphone. Like, could you guess what the percentage is of people that actually own a smartphone?
It's got
this blew me out of the water.
At least in the 80s.
It's 91%.
Okay, yeah.
So basically everyone has a smartphone.
Yeah.
And if you have a smartphone, you can listen to a podcast.
Right.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
So, because you go back a few years and you kind of had to be in special places. Well, you had to be near a radio or you had to be near a TV to get some kind of broadcast or something. But it's crazy. Podcasting has reached the highest numbers ever, with 90 million Americans being weekly podcast listeners.
Wow.
Yep. Consistently. And the spoken word audio popularity has not gone down. And as a matter of fact, it's gone up 214% among Gen Zers, 13 to 24-year-olds. And which is odd, because when I think that's compared to the 13 to 34-year-olds, and I think this was 2014.
Okay.
And so this is like the trend is just going skyrocketing up.
Yep. What was it?
Oh, how people listen to their podcasts. Remember, we said 91% of people have smartphones.
Yep.
Percentage of people that listen is on their smartphones is 73%. So, it's basically, if you got an iPhone or an Android, if you have a smartphone, people are listening to podcasts on them. 13% is on a desktop or a laptop.
Yep. Sorry. I got this thing playing.
Okay.
Keep going. I was just giving you some background music.
I was like, wow, no post-production for me.
Yeah.
28% of adults listen to podcasts while driving. I'm one of those people. I thought it would be higher.
Yeah.
But 49%, half of all podcast listening happens at home.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that makes sense.
So you think about that too. Like you're adding value
on the toilet or in the bed.
That's true.
One of those two
Yeah,
places.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you think about it, if and maybe it's increased because of the pandemic and stuff, where people are home more. But if
Yeah.
you think about it, like what you were saying, when you're home watching TV for 2 hours,
Yeah.
guess what? If you're listening to a podcast and you're cutting out some of that stuff and you're being added value, or you're creating it, either way, there's a 2-way lane highway there that podcasting fills in those spaces and those times at home when you could just be, doing nothing, just, letting the brain go.
Yeah.
Half of podcast listeners are adding value to themselves potentially
Nice.
by either listening or creating it. So
That's cool.
some of those things just kind of blew me away.
I think it's great. It made me remember that we have some statistics on the Refinery Studio page on the website.
Yeah.
And there, it's some of that stuff. Yeah. And so, there's obviously there's a lot of logical reasons why we're doing this and why we want to be involved in it and help other people be involved in it. And obviously, as you said, I mean, the data is there.
Yeah.
And then, it's a matter of, am I willing to take the leap to get good at it, good enough to make it make a difference, make it sustainable, right? So what we're going to be doing, like in terms of the refinery, will be what we would be offering to other people is that essentially like a 4-episode per month package, right? And then we could also offer for people to do a 2-episode per month. And then, we could do
every other week.
Yeah, we could do some limited series, and we could do some promotional videos that are kind of done in a podcast style. So the point is how these are ways that we can use the studio and help people, advance their dream, advance their business. And so So what we're doing essentially is we're getting into this 4 podcast a month rhythm, and so we have those packages ironed out. I'm just kind of going back through our notes. That's what we essentially right now. What we're going to do though is we're going to take everything that we're doing, and the only social media that we are going to do is putting the long video out to a YouTube channel, unless someone just wants to do that themselves.
Right. Yep.
And putting the video and the audio on Spotify, and then creating some short clips that we put in a file and make available. And then so people can take that and use that in whatever way that they want.
Right. Yep.
And like for me, kind of where I'm at is I'm going to do that. And then, the next thing that I'll look for is, as soon as I'm able, I want somebody else to do all the rest of that social media posting. And I'm actually in conversations about that with people, but that's kind of, again, this is where I am in the process.
Yeah.
And it's this sort of transition of going from doing it, trying to do everything yourself to you're able to involve other people, right?
Yes.
And then one other thing is that we're using this studio, and we're also going to use Riverside.fm because
very good tool.
Yeah, and so you will still be the technician in all of that, and certainly for me, the people that I will have on will not all be local to the upstate of South Carolina or Greenville. It'll be all over the country, and maybe even, potentially some other countries. So, and then I think it, a lot of what we kind of went to from there was just about the packages, and we did talk about setting up a good curiosity page and having that on there. And I think one other thing that I'll probably do is put podcast episodes on my website as well.
Okay.
And have a page. And so I wanted to show you. So one of the people that we've both worked with is Coach Philip Haywood. He's the winningest high school football coach in Kentucky high school history.
Yeah.
He just finished his 40th year at the same school, which is crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
And he's been on.
How many championships does he have?
8.
8?
Yeah. Unfortunately, not this year. We did get to go watch him play, which was fun.
That was cool.
I was going to show you Okay. So
Yeah.
this is a different platform. I think it's like kind of like a Spotify alternative.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm really trying to show you is, okay, so he sent me a link to the episode. He was on these people's The Leader's Edge. But I like this banner up here.
Oh, look at that.
So see, and so that's got his episode and it's got all his stuff right there. So that's kind of cool. And I'm thinking, and see how it goes. The people that are on,
It's the ad
that
spot.
could be a feature that,
Yeah.
gets involved in it. And so when
Yes.
we think about, so that's one thing, like
Very cool.
from today, one of the things you could go explore is some of that media stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then, so then it's just kind of setting it up. So essentially, without going over every single note here, what we're going to do, because I really kind of want to get into like exactly what do we do now to move forward,
Yes. Yeah.
but I want to get us back in sync with everything that we said. So that basically we have a pretty good discovery process mapped out.
Mm-hmm.
I have already put together a good starting template for mapping out your podcast and getting all that.
Yeah.
We had some specific things that we wanted to add to it, which I haven't done since then. But and so what we said was basically we need to know what people's preferences are for certain things. Like what style, what are some examples of things that they like? Do they have some intro music or any kind of other special wishes for
Yeah. Do they have inspiration of what they're like? Hey, this is what I like. This is what
something
I don't
like.
This gives you some direction.
Yeah.
And you don't want to skip the topic either.
Yeah.
You want to be able to have a topic that, unless you're doing a limited series where you're just like, I just want to do 8 episodes or 12 episodes on something that's limited.
Sure.
You want to have something that you can talk about forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, it's like 80% of podcasts. I need to look that up, but there's a ton of podcasts out there that just fail because they just run out of steam.
Yeah.
They don't have the content, or really the passion runs out because they had a limited vision. And it's like, do you see yourself doing this podcast in 5 years? And what would that look like?
Yeah.
How would it expand?
Nice.
So you have to have a topic that can support that, and that can often be overlooked.
Yeah, that's good. Well, and I'm listening to you because I'm thinking, that's what I have to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And so it's like style and substance, right?
Right. Yep.
We have to have both. And that's
And
what
you can be flexible on that. Like you said in the beginning podcasts, some people just start on their phone, and kind of what we're talking about is giving people that huge boost into a platform of like, okay, everything that you've had to think about up until this point is taken care of. The equipment, the production, the distribution, the main distribution, and like just like this whole starter package for you to just like jump in and go. You have to do your work, obviously.
Yeah.
You have to have something to talk about and to add value to, and if you're going to have guests, is it conversational? Is it more informative? Are you looking at the camera? Are you looking at your guest? Just little things like that to help you kind of really hone in and be just really efficient with your time in the studio.
For sure.
Because that's what's important.
And you've really kind of summed it up. What we're doing here is we're going to give it the appropriate amount of time to get ready for this so that we're all in agreement. What are we doing? Where are we going? What does success look like?
Yeah.
And to have someone have that sustainability for whatever that duration is, right?
Right. Yep.
And then essentially we do that, and we're all going to invest our time in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in terms of other people, now it's just, here you have two. Let's call it 3. You have 3 tasks.
Yeah.
Okay. Get yourself ready to film.
Yeah.
Get your guests here and have a pretty good sense of what you're gonna be discussing.
Right. Yeah. You need some kind of a script.
Yeah.
It can be 2 words, like talk about this. It can be 2 sentences, or some people like to have a full itinerary. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And as you keep going, the point is, and kind of what you've talked about in your workshops and stuff too, is be consistent.
Yeah.
Get in a rhythm.
Yeah. Get in a rhythm.
Get in a rhythm. You're gonna find you can't figure out all the problems before you actually do it. You can do as much as you can, but you're gonna run into problems that you haven't had.
Yeah.
Until you actually go through that process. You're like,
you do it.
Okay, well, maybe I thought this segment might have been better, but you know what? We don't need it.
Yeah.
Hey,
well, and
that's good. That's progress.
Yeah. And really that's going to be the approach that we'll take as we work with people.
Yeah.
If people are seeing this and they don't know that there's a training room right next to this studio, which is where, a lot of stuff happens. And I actually have someone coming out tomorrow.
Okay.
And it's awesome, man. It's called vertical printing. And they have this apparatus, and it's like a big thing on a stand, and it'll go down the wall and it'll go up and down and it'll print whatever you want printed.
That's really cool.
And it's bad to the bone, man. It's like full, any kind of definition, whatever you want.
Really?
In there.
Wow.
So I have a certain symbol that you've seen in some things, but I'll just say it's a symbol. It has meaning.
It's the peace symbol.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not the peace symbol.
Pretty close. But one of the things that's going to go on the wall in there for sure is the phrase "best idea wins."
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
That's going to be like as soon as you walk in the door, that's what you're going to see is "best idea wins" because
we've intentionally kept everything blank in there.
Yeah.
As you
to let it evolve.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's definitely going up, and then this symbol, and I don't know what else, and maybe I'll have her come back.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah. I saw her website. I was like, this is awesome. So anyway, we're going to take that approach of like, hey, look, we're going to get you the podcast that you want. We're going to develop some expertise and some know-how. You have all the expertise and the technical bit.
Some of it, yeah.
That's why we're
still
here.
Growing and learning too.
Yeah. and my expertise is in being a thinking partner.
Yeah.
And in helping people think through it. And so people will get both of those. And really what I'm saying is we're going to have a process, but we're going to also make sure that the process is suitable and reasonable for everyone.
Yes.
But essentially what we're really offering here is, look, you can have a professional studio with professional equipment, great sound, and essentially we get through the ramping up, and all you really have to do is show up and film with yourself or your guest, whoever that is, and get in that rhythm. And you walk out of the studio and then your hands are out of it.
That's right, yeah.
And we'll take it from there, and we'll get it to where you got published, your podcast is published, and you've got some clips that you can use, and then, you take it to yourself or any.
The sky's the limit at that point.
Whatever you want to do.
You want with it. And as a matter of fact, to a point of that, and people's success rate is all different. I've done several podcasts where people have kind of skyrocketed and they just kind of went on and did their own thing. Yeah. I've had other things, or I even do a podcast myself where, it's just for fun.
You've been doing yours.
Oh man. I'm not taking my own medicine on this because we're not consistent.
Yes, but that's all right. That's why we're here. Right?
Yeah. But it's my brother and I. We've done that for a few years now.
You've got several episodes.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're probably close 30 or 40, maybe somewhere in there.
You're statistically, you've made it past 22.
Yeah,
right?
And if we keep going, but the idea is that we utilize tools, and these tools are adjusting and changing. But right now, at this time, December 5th, 2023, at the end of the year, there's some really cool tools out there that can help you get your podcast out there. Yeah. And if you guys do get sponsors, that's all, we're not taking that. That's all you, what you want to do with it. No. If somebody's, you got a podcast on woodworking and you get some kind of stenciler or like wood burning company wants to sponsor you, we have nothing to do with that. That's all you, take it. It's, that's how your podcast grows,
Yeah, for sure. Yep. And look, I'm not going to pretend to be the expert in any of that. I'll gain expertise as we go along. I'll gain more and more understanding of that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I know how to help people get something going and get moving and stay in it, Yep. So then there's some segments, which I think I'm going to come back to, because that's actually what I want us to kind of workshop on there. But we, lining it out are what are the different parts of it? Because what we need to do right now is, we need to at least have our version 1.0 of some of these pieces.
Okay.
Like for example, the intro and the outro, or if that's the right word to use, and picking some music and all that. I'm going to kind of let you go with all that. And, but I've got, like I did a mock thing, and I'll show you that. But essentially there's some different segments that are logical. And what I'm trying to do, and like today, I want to talk about how do we explain in the least amount of words possible, but not missing anything that needs to explain what the podcast is, kind of who it's for, and just seeing what people have done to do that. This one I was mentioning that this Leader's Edge one, they've done a good job. Like if you listen to the front end of theirs, it's pretty professionally produced. It sounds good, and so anyway.
Yep.
Okay, and then basically we just kind of talked about the production process and where we're going to put everything, and that was really kind of between you and I. But essentially, I already said it, and then the clips are going to go in a Google Drive folder, and and then you've got all kind of options for music and all that, and then the other thing that I'm going to do, and this is where the AI stuff kind of comes in here, is what I'm going to involve in this too is legitimate podcast episodes that feature a guest in a topic and all that, but also these education moments, a minute or less, little clips, and that will include a pretty regular series on some AI tips. Which I'm going to do at this point, the idea is to do that with Carrie Krause, who owns a marketing franchise, essentially, which is called WSI. And WSI, they're all over the country, certainly, and even in other parts of the world. And they are steeped in all the AI stuff. I mean, they're constantly in it. And so when I kind of realized, hey, I can help people with this, Carrie's my go-to guy too, and he and I are working together. So we'll do that, and then I'll have obviously things to share.
We have what we've kind of gone through up to this point is talking about a successful podcast structure, right? And I don't know how deep you want to get into that, but we've already kind of covered the theme and the idea. But how you structure a podcast really is important, and it does lean towards itself, towards your personality and kind of how you want to do that. You're geared and ready for podcasting because you've already been podcasting. You're already in the mindset of creating content, you're a writer. You understand of getting themes and bringing people along a path to a conclusion.
And methodical process. That's part of what I do.
And that's the idea of a podcast really is you want to be able to get somebody's attention in the beginning. You want to grab that audience that you're looking for. So that's called the hook, something, a clip, an idea or something like that. Kind of a short clip with music or something, something to get the listeners interested in. Okay. Then, the short clip of music, your name, the name of your, of you and your co-host and guests, the name of the show, that kind of idea. Once you get further on, you get something that's called like a back sell, which is like a review of previous episodes relevant to this one. Okay. That depends based on, again, what the podcast is about. But, hey, last week we talked about this. This week we're jumping into this. And I'm glad you're on this journey with us. And then just a summary of what you're covering in the episode, and then you write in. 20%, you will lose, if your intro is longer than, I think, 3 minutes, you will lose 27% of your listeners.
So what's the ideal length of an intro?
The shorter, the better. I mean, you can get it in a minute. If you have something to say. I mean, the intro, so like there's a difference between like just like a logo flash and then an intro. But like what they're talking about here from the information I have up on here, which is from Riverside, is your before you get to the meat of the episode. So you said you had your logo flash, you had the music and your name and that kind of idea. Like you want to go right into that intro and then just say, what is the purpose of today's episode? 'Cause
Yeah.
people are, if they're waiting, you got their attention. Now they're waiting to say, okay, how long do I have to wait until I hear what they want to talk about?
Yes.
And then, so you want to give that to them right away. And then you can transition into the next segment.
Yeah.
So, that's, to me, that's one of the hardest parts. But once you have it, it's there.
Yeah.
People expect it. They listen for it. They understand the length of it.
Yeah.
And it's good for new listeners and it's good for current listeners.
Yeah.
So
it's a static message essentially at the beginning.
Sure. Or it's just the format, or you do the same format, you say the same things, but then you're inserting, in your podcast script, you're inserting what the new topic for the day is, today, and introducing your guest, and then you just hop right into it.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. There's a really good, I just saw this, and unfortunately, I just put my phone up on the stand over there, so I don't have but I have a saved clip. I'm like a TikTok clip saving junkie. I'm sure a lot of people are too, but it was Seth Godin, and he gave this 3-part formula, which I think is valuable here. And it's like, okay, I'll correct it if I say it wrong, but it's basically it's kind of like an elevator pitch.
Okay.
And I think that's really essentially what your intro is.
Because you don't have much time. Somebody came across your whatever, however they got to it, and now they're listening. You got them 15, 30 seconds at most before they're like, not for me.
Yeah.
Or I don't care, or who knows, maybe moving on.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's sort of the formula, if I remember right.
Okay.
This is for people who believe X.
Okay.
Who want Y.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're going to do that by this.
Oh, interesting. Right? Yeah.
So I think if I applied that formula, I think that I could say that the Refinery Podcast is for people who believe in an entrepreneurial dream.
Yep.
Who want great content that's relevant to the entrepreneurial journey and the journey of life.
Right.
And
so that was me, right? So I started my business, not too long ago.
Yeah.
So that was me. So boom, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I hear that. Oh, entrepreneurial. Yeah. Yes. I need help.
Yeah. Yeah. And what we're going to do is we're going to give
2. Sorry, I'm pushing you forward.
No. It's good. Here's the cool thing.
I loved what you said. That was wonderful.
Well, here's the cool thing. It's on. That's why we use Otter, right? So I can go back.
What did I say?
Yeah. Oh my word. Okay.
This is what you want.
Oh my gosh.
This is what you want.
This is why seriously, because you get in flow with something, right? Yeah. Okay. Here it is. This is for people who believe in an entrepreneurial dream, who want great content that's relevant to the entrepreneurial journey and the journey of life. Mm-hmm. What we're going to do in this podcast is we're going to have people that can share their journey, give you some great tips that'll be helpful to you in advancing what you want.
That's how you'll do it, right? Yeah.
This is really essentially
we got it.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah. Well, again, it's all there. It's there. I said it twice. Now.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean that's really in essence. And so, by the way, I mean the cool thing is now we know some people like locally that podcast, and they do a really great job of bringing local people on. And there will definitely be local people. I just happen to know some amazing people that aren't local to this area. And so we'll do that as well. So like, for example, now, I don't know how smart it is to say these things out loud, but I'll tell you like some people that so I'm actually going to have as one of my first guests, a guy who is a professor at Furman University.
Okay.
And he's a political science professor.
Oh.
And if I'm around this guy, I'm going to school.
Yeah.
Like he is so brilliant and I've written several books.
Yeah.
And listen, I mean, I want to learn from that guy.
Yes.
And he's incredibly articulate, and he's just while this isn't a political podcast,
sure,
people are going to hear things from him that'll be meaningful, relevant, well said, not a lot of hyperbole and conjecture, you know. So he's the kind of person. Coach, who I mentioned. Now, I haven't asked yet, so I probably shouldn't say this, but one of my brother's high school classmates, who I know, my brother really grew up with the guy. I know the guy.
Okay.
But he's actually indirectly, he actually just retired from the Secret Service.
Oh, wow.
And when you're in the Secret Service, when you get to a certain age, they make you, say see you later.
Yep.
You can't take a bullet anymore. So So I'm gonna reach out to him. I actually met a guy who I don't know that had a really incredible job in the military of recovering the remains of POWs and MIAs. And I won't say any more. Wow. I only met him once, but I was at a networking meeting and I knew I was going to be doing a podcast, and my mind was like burning it all in. Dude, I'm like, I got to come back to this guy. You know, and so there's a lot of people that I know through the Empowered Living community, which I'm heavily involved in, which is led by Paul Martinelli, who is my mentor. Yeah. And certainly, you know, I want to have Paul on here.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But people like that and other people, I have had a few people locally reach out to me and some people that I'll reach out to, and it'll be a combination. We actually did record some episodes that will, if they can fit sort of within where we are,
they're kind of like a beta test. You know, getting them in there, and just getting conversations going. Getting in that rhythm.
Yeah. One of them was Jan DeGallier, who is in Minnesota. She and I are working on a project together right now, and I did a recording of her on Zoom, and I did it like it was episode 1. Yeah. So I really want to go back and do that episode with Riverside.fm and you there and get it done right, because she's got some great stuff to share. Yeah. And there's other people. So anyway, I mean, people that are really filling a leadership gap in senior care. They're definitely entrepreneurs. These people started from an idea sitting in the kitchen to a multi-million-dollar business now. I mean, big time. And, you know, someone who is basically filling a leadership gap in the auto retail space, and we're building out, you know, and of course the guys that came here from Texas.
Fun bunch.
Yeah, for sure. So we did a lot of filming with them, and there's other people that are coming here, and so we'll grab them. It's going to be people that, again, this is the kind of stuff that entrepreneurs are going to want to listen to, the kind of conversations that they would want to be in or they're in. And you know, I mean, look, part of why we're taking this time, we're not just like, okay, let's jump out there and just go for it. Why we want to get this settled is we want this to stick, and we want it. I want to build this on a foundation that I wouldn't be shy to reach out to people that we see on these big names on podcasts. I wouldn't be shy about reaching out to them, right? In everything that I'm doing, I'll tell you, there's a couple of thoughts that I'm having. Is I realize that I'm only scratching the surface with what can be done. And I honestly, it doesn't matter anything I'm doing. Yeah. I'm only scratching the surface at being a good husband. I mean, seriously. Yeah. I've been a husband for 20. Well,
here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay. So what's 2023 minus 1996?
96.
7, right? 27. 3 and 6.
27 years.
Yeah, 27 years. I'm just getting warmed up at at being a dad. I mean, seriously. I got some, I mean, you know, and my kids are 22 and about to be 19, right? I got some room to grow. And
you ain't kidding. I'm at 2 and 4.
Well, anything I'm doing, and you're probably leaps and bounds ahead of me on some things, right? Like anything I'm doing with.
If the kids are alive the next day, that's a success to me right now.
Yeah, it is a survival game.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. You heard by the way, you heard my one of the most spiritual things anyone ever said to me was when I was where you are right now. Yeah. And I was in this like small group study thing. And I was really feeling like I wasn't very spiritual, and I felt like a spiritual, midget, and I wanted to be a spiritual giant.
Right. Yeah.
I was just, I was full on in survival mode.
Yeah.
And it was that time where the kids are not sleeping through the night. And our kids, I don't know about yours, but ours did each of them did about 6 to 8 months of not sleeping.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they sleep and you feel like a normal human being. But anyway, I was in that stage and I was sort of expressing my sort of feeling of inadequacy or whatever that I would feel like I was contributing,
Yeah.
And it was actually the pastor of the church. He goes, Rick, there are just some parts of our lives that we just survive. And it was like the heavens opened up, the hallelujah chorus, all the pressure was off. It was the most spiritual thing. It was like, yeah. So, and I did, man. I survived, and guess what? I'm still here.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. But
sometimes that's all you can do is just, wait for the next day,
Yeah.
But take a moment.
But the truth is, I'm not in survival mode now. I mean, look, I need to be refining as a father. It's, so.
Well, I love that idea, the refinement, for me as a Christian and as a business owner and a family man, because that is the process of being human is,
for sure.
The process of refining is heating up all that elements.
Yep.
Which is hard and hot and sweaty. And if you're the one being refined, it's painful.
Hurts.
But all that bad stuff rises to the surface and you clean it out. And you only can get it out by that process.
Yes.
Which is the hard process.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, I just think that everything. So I think my point is that I'm aware that I'm just getting warmed up on many things. And look, especially in the last 2 years, a lot of advancement has happened.
Yes.
I just realized on Sunday I was in here working on something, and I did the math on my business, and it's changed a lot in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. And so now here's the second part. So the first part is I'm very aware that I'm just getting warmed up. And the second part is I'm also very aware with anything that I'm doing that I could be in danger of thinking too small about.
Yeah.
Right.
That's something you challenged me on.
Yeah. I mean,
in our first conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, let's talk. I mean, I've been seeing personally a lot of clips with Elon Musk on him in the last week. He was at a speaking thing and he basically told advertisers where they could go if they wanted to try to force them to think or, act a certain way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is the logical mind would say it would be ridiculous for you to ever think that you could have Elon Musk on a podcast. Come on. Right? Come on.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm saying is
he's here right now. Yeah, here he comes. No, just kidding.
What I'm saying is, look, what I've learned is as you wish. Like, okay, you want to believe that? Then go ahead and don't ever try. But
well, why
you don't know?
Why set a limit?
Yeah,
why
right.
Set a ceiling.
So I don't know. All I'm saying is, I want to be very careful as this moves forward to not set limits on this. Yeah. Right. There may be some certain temporary limits or whatever that we find, but I just want to be very careful. And look, this is what I'm doing with other people. Like I am really working hard not to agree with anyone else's limitations of themselves, right? Because, and let me tell you why. When I realized that God doesn't agree with our limitations,
right? Yeah,
that was pretty powerful for me.
That is powerful. Yep.
And we think in limiting ways all the time. I mean, just today, I was wrestling with myself about a certain issue.
Yeah,
and I was going, Rick, you cannot approach this with the basis of fear, because if all you're going to do is just be afraid, if that's the only thing that you do, then you are going to limit it in some way. And you're going to, then here's what I found. On the backside of me setting unnecessary limitations, you know what always comes? Regret.
Yeah.
It's regret.
I was just about to say that. It's something you're gonna think about later. It's stuck and it's stuck in there as something that he would have or could have, or something that, if only.
Yeah. And I don't want to, I think there's for everything, when you understand, if you really want to understand something, understand the law of polarity. So in the same way, if I have to understand that there could be something really great could happen, in the same time, I have to be aware that the polar opposite could happen. And there's actually been a study, and if I was prepared for an episode, I would know this exact study.
Of course.
But basically what they figured out is some of the most successful people, what they actually do as a part of their process is they think about what is the absolute worst thing that could happen. So in other words, when they're visioning, they're both envisioning the best thing and the worst thing, like they're understanding that. And because we're naturally driven by the aversion to loss even more than we are of the opportunity to gain something, right? So
you're saying they focus on the worst thing that could happen.
They just are very well, like they. In other words, this is why this is important because, when I'm saying not be limited, I'm not talking about happy affirmations or you just can say, name it, claim it, right? I'm talking about
name it, claim it.
Yeah, right. Did that bring up some 90s for you?
Oh, that's funny.
Did you go back to 90s church there? So what I'm saying is, this is for real. I mean, this is proven. It's how we're wired. It's been studied in multiple ways. So I'm a huge proponent of vision casting and understanding a vision and taking away the limits. I just know in the process, part of that includes being very aware of the things, of the potential pitfalls, and then preparing. This is why I said right now, kind of there's this duality.
Because it's not denial. You're not saying that everything's going to be hunky-dory and perfect.
Yeah, right.
They're having a realistic image of what's the scope of possibility.
Yeah.
I see,
well, look,
I see that now.
Okay, look, let's put it this way. Here's what I teach, okay? When we have a dream, it's a big, I think of it as a big idea. And that is an uphill idea. You're going to go uphill to get there.
Right.
Gravity is not your friend. There is going to be resistance. If you're going to go from here to there, it's going to be an uphill journey. And being comfortable isn't staying in the same place. It's going downhill. It's, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying though is what really matters is, will we pay the price?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think when you think into like these things that what could happen, well, you're really convincing yourself that you're ready to pay the price to get there. Right. And you're saying, well, look, I don't want to be stupid. And, I don't want to set the price higher than it needs to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let me be smart about how, and this is why, like, there's sort of this duality of what we're talking about here is, look, you don't need to know exactly how to do it. Because if you knew how today, it wouldn't be the same tomorrow. So there's that. But, and being obsessed with preparation. Right. So I think that part of that is like, hey, we want to take time to figure this stuff out.
So you're a prepper.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, why not?
You're a mental prepper.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
getting what you need to get the job done.
Yeah, and and look, more on that. I mean, listen, there's so much in there that we could continue to talk about, but I'm just saying that we intend to provide a high level professional service that is worthy of people's dreams. This was important to me because I realized I was kind of at this place where I was starting to do some TikTok stuff, and I just realized, look, what I want to do, I don't just want to like be in my car and film videos or walk around my backyard. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I
just realized that, look, I'm helping people do content and things at a really high level.
Sure.
And I want a space that honors that.
Yes.
If I'm going to record the videos for an online course, I want a good professional space. If I'm going to do podcasting, that's why
audiobook, which has already been done.
Right.
Here. Yep.
Right. I wanted the kind of place that could do that professionally. It's why I'm working with you, because if I could try to do this myself, but it wouldn't be anything close to what you're able to do. Right. I mean, you're in here with the cameras and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I don't have to be the one setting all that up. Like,
hey, we get creative with it, man. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, and
that's I mean, in introducing what I do and I added to the table when Rick and I met, Rick's like, I need a tech guy, you know, I need an audio video guy. So I have a recording studio here in Greenville.
Yep.
And I do music recording, mixing, mastering, recording, film, TV, sound, all of that stuff. So it was really just an amazing partnership because, you know, and I even dabbled in some podcasting and stuff at my studio there and helped other people and consulted. And I love making connections with people and who and like you've said, help them finding their vision and pushing them forward. That's a lot of my structure at the studio is very similar, where it's like, I don't want ownership of what you're trying to create. I just want to help you make it.
Yeah.
That's what fulfills me.
Yeah, right.
Is the process. I'm very troubleshooter mindset. Like I love finding and solving problems. So being a sound engineer officially is like just like that sweet spot. And when I started the business, there was a hole that was filled.
Yeah.
You know, because God designed me that way.
Yeah.
And when I finally got into that spot, which is a story for another time, I'm sure, but boy, just the puzzle pieces just fit.
Yeah.
And so
nice.
And anyways, I know that was a rabbit trail.
Well, no. Look, and I think it's pretty important. I mean, look,
connected to how we.
Yeah, and you've worked on movies, you've worked on other audiobooks, and like you said, a lot of music stuff. A long-standing children's program that you know, like goes back to people's childhoods that are now adults and
40 years.
Yeah, so their parents and grandparents have been, you know.
Yep.
So you've done a lot, and you know, so it's
made friends along the way, man. Yeah, it's been an awesome journey. Cool. And I've only been in it officially more than a year.
Yeah.
Not even 2 years yet.
Yeah.
I've done sound my whole life.
Right.
Making it a business and being serious about it, being intentional and having a vision for what I want to do, you know, not that long.
Yeah.
And
and having,
if I would have limited myself, to just, I just want to work on some sound or, you know, just do that, I don't think I would be anywhere close to where I am today. And I'm not hugely successful. Hey man, some days it's ramen, some days it's steak.
Right. Yeah. But what you're doing is
progressing.
And you're involved in some certain groups of people that are growing into technical and the business building skills, right, of what you're doing. And you and I have done some work together. And and I'm doing the same thing. In fact, yesterday, I had my first sort of introductory session with my new coach, Andy Hall, who will probably be on here. He was in Jupiter, Florida yesterday, but Is
he local here or
no? He's from England. He's from I think he lives in London. I'll find out this weekend. I'm actually going to see him this weekend. But the point of it is we both understand the value of investing in our growth, right?
Sure.
Yeah.